This is the life we chose.
Hey, we're planning a podcast. Shut up! Good morning to you wherever you are. It is morning somewhere!
June 25th. Oh no, I messed it up. 25th, 2024.
Nailed it.
And Barnes, I love my mom so much. Standing right over there, there's my mom, which I love very much.
Well, let me ask you this, kid. Does she deserve it today after that date?
I got stage fright.
From June 25th, 2024? Yeah. It hits us all, Ashley. You never know when it will land on you. Well, I thought it was divine, personally. It was incredible performance. I thought it spoke to everyone's fear of saying a date out loud. Hey, everybody, it is Tuesday. How you doing?
Welcome to Tuesday.
Today is Hawk Tuesday. Now I'm going to have to name the episode that.
Hawk Tuesday.
There seemed to be like a lot of upvotes on a comment in the subreddit, which was like, I can't believe Bernie had the balls to bring up the Hawk Tua meme. And I don't know why that is. Is it because of you that they're projecting that I couldn't talk to you about that? Is this like the milkshake duck where we find out this lady has some like dark history?
There's a dark secret there. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out when they come after us.
It's always the case. For talking about this person. Well, welcome to Tuesday, everybody. A lot of crazy stuff in the news today.
A couple of things are happening. One is this house that's for sale in San Francisco. Stay with us. It is actually in kind of a crazy story.
So far, not a great headline. House for sale in San Francisco. Happens all the time.
No way.
Ashley, you lived in, I'm going to dox you for time travelers now.
Okay.
You used to live in San Francisco.
Yes.
You moved from Salt Lake City, arguably one of the best costs of living around, I would think, right? Pretty reasonable.
Fairly, yeah.
You moved to San Francisco from there, thought, that cost of living isn't high enough. Let me move to Sydney, Australia, and then from Sydney back to San Francisco, and then to Austin, Texas during the boom. And now I think after all those moves, you now live in rural UK, rural Scotland. I think you've kind of leveled out on the cost of living.
Yeah.
Just in time for inflation.
You could say I'm an idiot. Yes, I somehow made like a nice tour of some of the highest cost of living cities in the world.
When I met Ashley, can I say like the people you were living with that with naming names?
Sure. I don't think it's a secret.
She was working at IGN. You lived with 4 other IGN people. Is that right?
It was 3 others. There were 4 total in the house, including myself.
House was like it was an apartment.
Yes, it was a flat. It was like one level in sort of a block of small block of flats.
You had a bedroom.
I had a bedroom. I paid $1,000 a month for a bedroom, and
with no parking. That was a big deal.
Yeah,
when I would come to visit
no
you.
parking, which was such a pain. So anyone who had a car, I believe the apartment had 1 car spot, and that cost an extra couple $100 a month.
It also had something I've never seen before, where it had 2 cars in a 1-car garage, but it would lower the other car below the pavement.
Yeah, it had like a lift.
Yes.
It was crazy what people in confined spaces will do. There's actually a couple car parks in San Francisco, I think, that operate on that sort of like your car goes in and then it goes up on a lift and another, makes space for another car. It's like, vertical car housing. It's insane.
Can I just say, do you remember when I came to visit you? I just went to work on your apartment, like where you were living, your room, because you had your own bathroom. Do you remember what I worked on when I was there?
I do. I remember the first thing you worked on was the sink. The bathroom sink was slow to drain.
All I can say is you set my expectations correctly. Because one thing I hate this more than anything else. I hate slow drains. I hate it because it's like then the water just like pools where it's not supposed to be pooling. So I cleared out her sink drain. Oh my God.
Now,
so much hair came out of that.
To be fair, I had not been in the apartment long enough to have done that myself.
Awesome. So I cleaned out somebody else's hair. Great.
Yes. That was a generational clog.
Yes. I was paying it forward. You set my expectations right, though, because we share a shower now. Spoiler, married couple. We use the same shower. I have to clean. What is going on with your hair? Like,
it's long. This is the life of a person with long hair. So here's how the routine goes. I wash my hair, and then for the next
brag about it.
And then for the next day, not only am I finding like just random hairs like stuck to my arm or something because the long hairs come out a lot more when you
put them on the wall.
Wash. Or yes, I do what every girl does in the world, which is when you're washing your hair and you pull out some loose strands, you think, well, I don't want to send this down the drain because I'm being considerate. I need the nearest flat surface to put this on because I'm sopping wet. And you put it on the wall. And then you do your best to remember when you get out of the shower to collect all that hair and put it in the bin. But that's like maybe an 80% success rate.
If part of your routine, like your skincare routine, could be dropping some hydrochloric acid down the drain, that'd be awesome. But now it's like to describe the shower, it's not in a tub, it's like in a stall, essentially. So the drain is like on a sloped floor. And then occasionally I will notice that water's creeping towards the door.
It's creeping.
And I gotta go to work.
It's on the move.
I gotta go to work.
Well, we got something even more fun than hydrochloric acid, though. Do you remember now what our drain cleaning tool is called?
Yeah, go ahead.
The drain weasel.
The drain weasel. That's what
so
it's called.
It's like this ridiculous, like little, almost like a bottle brush or like a wire brush or something that's on like this long stick, and you take it and you stick it down, and it's got a little spinny handle, and you spin it, and it spins in the drain and collects whatever is stuck down there, and then you pull it all back out, and it is disgusting. And it is also.
I hope you're just waking up. You're having. Your bran flakes or your Lucky Charms or whatever. We're talking about this. But all I'm saying is you set my expectations right. Did you like the fact that I came in as we were just recently dating? I came in and I started fixing stuff in your apartment.
That was great.
Did that endear you to me?
That was like, I was like, that guy looks like he knows how to change a tire.
Oh, classic. All right. Well, so that was a good move. Okay, so this house is for sale in San Francisco.
Yes.
But here's the actual headline.
Yes, it's the actual headline. San Francisco home in a trendy NABE, that seems to be short for neighborhood, hits market for $488,000. But buyers can't move in until 2053.
I talked over you a little bit there. Give us the price again.
$488,000. Now this This is in the Russian Hills district of San Francisco. So this is quite a nice neighborhood. It's a house in the neighborhood, and you can move in the low time frame of 29 years.
Which, ironically, is when you would pay off the mortgage on this place, right?
If
you'd be right at the end,
but you'd be having a difficult time. So the reason, of course,
I wouldn't be shocked if they were doing 50-year mortgages at this point.
Maybe,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe, yeah. But the reason for this, of course, is the house has tenants.
This is the real story behind it. It's not just like, sometimes people will do a thing called a reverse mortgage, where older couples, especially, they're planning for the end of their life. Maybe they don't have kids or something. And then what they will do is they will reverse mortgage their house where someone can buy it from them over the course of 10 years and pay them out on it. So the older couple gets some money. When they pass away, the person gets the house, essentially. It's an agreement to buy it. Typically, it's not a 29-year arrangement.
Right. And I don't think that's what's happening here. So according to an article that I was reading, the tenants claim San Francisco City Tenant Protection Class status. They have basically some extreme rent control rights, it sounds like. You know what they're currently paying in rent for this house in the Russian Hills neighborhood of San Francisco?
You were paying $1,000 for a room. In what year? 2012, that was 13-ish?
Yeah, 2012.
God.
So just take a swing at it.
I'm just going to say I'm going to say they were paying slightly less than you, $900 a month or a house.
They are paying $416.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
And Bernie, 67 cents per month. And this is according to the tenant. So they're not padding that at all.
So that's what you're buying. And you know what? This goes back to the discussion we had about people versus a person, right? Hell yeah, you hear the story on the surface. It's like, look at these renters getting a house for $400 in San Francisco. But no one is personally going to go bail these people out who have this house that's locked up until 2053. You are buying a money pit for somebody else to live in, basically.
Right. And the idea is this house is currently listed for, just under $500,000. And they're saying, what a steal, right? Because just imagine in 30 years how much this house will be worth.
Property tax is property tax in San Francisco pretty significant? It's in California, for God's sake.
I don't know. I have never owned a home in California.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, but it's a crazy deal. But it's on the surface, you're like, and also I should point out too, I'm going to take a guess here. The renters who have a legacy house that goes all the way back to $400 a month rent, these aren't like millennials renting this house.
Oh, no.
They're not.
No.
They're not. I mean, you probably would be.
Yeah, if they moved in when they were 5.
Right, exactly. I mean, it would have to be like from the late 80s or something like that, right? For $400 a month?
And for that in San Francisco, they have been there a very long time.
By the way, it also comes if you buy this house, you've got obligations. I'm sure these tenants are not like, oh, that's broken, but I'm not going to worry about it. They don't sound like those kind of tenants.
Or like, you know what? I'm going to get that fixed.
Out of my own pocket because I'm saving so much money on rent.
Because I can afford it. I only pay $400 a month in rent. When's the last time you paid $400 a month in rent?
Babe, college.
Okay.
When I lived in a house with like 20 other guys, like a co-op fraternity for a room. But I lived in it's like dorm style living. And the reason why I was in it was because the rent was so cheap and it was fucking terrible. It was terrible. It was like 1991, by the way.
I think the least I ever paid in that area is I paid $800 a month for basically a studio on the outskirts of Berkeley.
Let me put it this way. It was $50 more a month if you wanted a window AC unit in Austin.
Wow.
Think about that. Think about no air conditioning. That's the kind of building this was. That didn't have air conditioning in the 90s in Austin. Yeah, it was. All my friends from college would go like, yeah, that place was fucking terrible.
So basically, if you are a renter, I want you to line up outside this house and just go by and high five the renters because they have got basically the deal of the century.
Yeah, they do. They do. But it just sounds like if somebody wants to buy into that, good luck.
Right.
Good luck to you. Good luck.
Right. But look on the bright side. Nothing lasts forever, and in 29 years, you get a house. Speaking of nothing lasting forever.
Great. What are you going to lead to nothing lasts forever?
MTV News.
Okay.
Where were you going to go?
Boeing's contract with the government.
Oh, that. Well,
Yeah.
we'll get to that. So in an interesting turn, MTV News, which many people of our generation will remember fondly, has gone dark. All their archives are gone. Basically, the website's gone, and all of the MTV News content from the years that they operated is gone. Now, to be fair, MTV News hasn't operated for a while.
Legendary MTV newscasters, Kurt Loder, Tabitha Soren, John Norris. There's an article with Rolling Stone where they interviewed them in 2023 when MTV News was shut down, but this is the library is now being taken offline.
Yes, so just the whole website's gone and everything with it, which is crazy to me. Just I don't know about you, Bernie, but I think of MTV News as being very pivotal in informing a younger audience when in the 90s. It was a huge deal. Do you remember Rock the Vote?
I agree with you completely. It was an incredible mantle that they took upon themselves. They knew they had a young audience, and they did not avoid their responsibility to keep that audience educated and informed of world events. And it was a music slant when they would come in with stories, but they also covered things like voter registration. There was a big movement to get kids out to vote. I would argue they were a big part of the reason why Clinton was elected twice in the 90s.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It was a huge movement that they did, and they were, I thought, very, very influential. So I know it's been a while since the 90s, but it is an interesting thing that just, they were formally shuttered last year, and now it's gone. It's crazy to think of the ephemeral nature of the internet in that way.
Yeah, it really is. And I have a lot of respect for all of those people for doing that. Anytime it's news, politics gets injected into it. And there's always going to be people who have a visceral reaction to the politics of it. But just in general, keeping kids informed, I felt like was a thing that was more prevalent in the 80s and 90s. Do you remember when you were a kid watching Saturday morning cartoons and they would have news breaks for kids and they would give you news? There was a spinning globe, I remember, that would come up and I was like, this sucks. But you would watch it because you had to, and they would tell you about something going on in the world.
Look at the rich kid who had TV reception.
Oh yeah, sorry. They didn't do that on your Lion King VHS. Or maybe if you had moved to San Francisco and gotten a rent-controlled house in 1988. But you don't remember that at all? You didn't have that? You didn't see that kind of stuff when you were growing up?
Not really.
Because you didn't have live TV.
Right. I didn't. I had static.
Jesus Christ. You're country, babe.
Explains a lot, doesn't it?
You're very country. Yeah, but they would have these news breaks and they would tell you about things that are going on in the world, and it's like I would pick that stuff up, you kind of had to watch it. And when MTV came along, I thought they did a tremendous job, and it's just such a shame to see that go away. At the same time, I don't know who's going back and watching old MTV news clips, but it is important to history, especially for people who lived through it. You know, I really feel that way.
It's also, I think, a very valuable window into that period of time. If you can look at that stuff, like there's one thing I really like, and that is on AP News, the AP News website. I like to just go and see what happened on this day in history. It's always there's always some crazy thing happen. In fact, I'm going to pull up today's AP News today in history and let you know what happened. So today in history, in 1947, Anne Frank's diary was published. The Korean War broke out in 1950. Michael Jackson died in Los Angeles in 2009, and Pope Francis visited Armenia in 2017. So it's just interesting to be this stuff happened today, and you can look back in time. And so it was a really nice way to look back. And also, MTV News, I think, should be credited with making news cool to a younger generation, because news is always one of those things that has been important, and people recognize it's important. But I feel like MTV News also kind of made it cool.
Yeah, and there were times at Rooster Teeth where we were influenced by MTV News specifically. One of the huge motivations why we started the RT Docs was because we wanted to cover topics that weren't just as I like to say, video game laugh-em-ups. We recognize it's where did that audience go? There was a conversation in 2010, 2012, where everyone's going, where did the young audience go? And our answer was always, especially at that time, was we know where they went. They went here. They're on YouTube, but nobody was really doing that same kind of thing that MTV did. And so we felt we had to do our part in some way to, elevate and inform is what we said with our audience. And not everyone's going to watch that stuff. We have a more, on-demand culture these days. You're not held captive by the linear format of broadcast television. Yeah, but we recognized what MTV News did, and we were inspired by it to do something similar ourselves.
Right.
Probably to lesser success, obviously. but we felt compelled to do something for it.
Yeah, and I mean, on that note as well, I guess that does relate to Rooster Teeth with those docs are now, I know they're available on the Internet Archive at the moment, but, the Rooster Teeth website went down and the docs went with them.
Yeah.
So that is a bit of a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, something food for thought. Let's just say that, food for thought.
Yes. Do you want to talk about Boeing instead, which is very exciting?
Really briefly, Boeing's got a lot of stuff going on. I will say before I start this, I'm on edge about this word Boeing, because it's one of the words that I say that people tell me I'm constantly pronouncing wrong. Boeing.
I'm hearing Boeing, and I feel like I'm saying Boeing. I feel
what the other word is?
What's the other word?
Inverness. Whenever I say the city Inverness, people go, "Why does Bernie say it like that?" It's what? I don't know what I'm saying.
That's how it's said, isn't it? Inverness. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know, and I get lost because now when I say Boeing so many times,
get in your head about it.
Tartlets. 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 Word is lost, all meaning.
That's how I feel. But Boeing is now facing, potentially not facing yet. There's been a recommendation by the Department of Justice that criminal charges should be filed against Boeing for violating an agreement that they had in 2021 with the federal government, which are now claiming, the federal government is claiming that the violation of that agreement, which protected them from criminal charges, will now have them facing, or should have them facing, criminal charges, which is very interesting because you were confused by a company and crime, right? Yeah.
Well, so I have a question about that, and that is when you press criminal charges against a company, what does that mean? You can't lock up the jet, right? What do? You're going to go after the janitor? How does that, how does it work? How do you hold a company responsible on criminal charges? Do you just round up the C-suite? Do you take, is it the whole board? Is it the one sacrificial lamb that they send out to take the whole fall? How does that work?
So I'm going to read you from a little bit from an article here on CNN, and we'll link all this in the link dump. The charges against Boeing don't mean any Boeing executive will face charges as an individual, but it could add to the company's deep financial problems. It has posted core operating losses of $31.9 billion since the start of the 20-month grounding of the 737 MAX that followed its second fatal crash in 2019. There's another article that came out earlier this month, which was the 737 MAX had no sales for the second month in a row. So That's an aside from this. But here it says, at its most extreme, Boeing could be found ineligible to do business with the federal government if found guilty of a crime. That would put a virtual death sentence for Boeing, which gets 37% of its revenue in 2023 from U.S. government contracts. But such a penalty is highly unlikely for reasons of national security, since most of those contracts are with the Department of Defense.
Oh.
So what's going to happen? It's always that big boogeyman of national security, right?
Right. I was going to say, so it's like, they're like, you're guilty, but we're bailing you out. I guess that's probably a good thing for the astronauts that are currently stuck in space.
That's the other thing that's going on. The Starliner is delayed coming back to Earth.
Yes. So it's delayed. It was delayed initially. Now it's been delayed again into sometime in July, I think it is currently. They discovered there were several issues on the trip up. Do you remember we talked about this, about Starliner, because they had a couple scrubbed attempts before they actually made it into space. There was the slow computer response, and then there was a helium leak that they were like, no, that's fine. Well, they had a couple issues on the way up. A bunch of thrusters apparently stopped responding.
I do remember at some point I said we might be over-analyzing this.
And then guess what else they're having trouble with, though? Helium.
Yeah, go figure.
Apparently.
Well, that would help them descend. If the helium is leaking, they would come down, right? Isn't that? I think I understand my physics properly here. That's what floats them up to space, right? Is all that helium.
I also have to point out here that the astronauts that they're currently they're safe. They're on the International Space Station, so they're okay. They're having an extended vacation. I guess they're calling home, going, "Honey, I'm gonna be late. You're never gonna believe why."
I got a great deal on rent, though. It's $413 a second.
I'll be home in 29 years.
Yeah, keep dinner warm. I'll be there in 30 years.
And I also need to point out that these astronauts have the best astronaut names. They're astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams.
Those are great astronauts.
Those are such astronaut names, right?
The best one's got to be Buzz Aldrin, right? That's such a
good name.
That's such a great astronaut name. What's it? Butch and Sonny. That's fantastic. I mean, the only thing that could possibly be better is like a guy named Ace, like
Ace Rocket Man.
Ace Booster reporting for duty.
Maybe what they really need is like Ace Helium. On board.
So, is there any projection on when Starliner can return to Earth?
At the moment, I think the expectation is sometime in early July, but they have to, I guess, fix some thrusters from the space station, and I don't know, maybe they've got some spare helium they can send back with them. So I'm not sure yet what the solution is.
I'll be honest, I don't know what the helium does. Is it fuel? I don't know.
I think it helps maintain pressure.
Okay.
In various systems.
Is like an inert gas that they can just put in the atmosphere? Why is the helium leaking and nothing else is leaking?
Maybe because
I'm asking you. I'm putting you totally on the spot.
Because I have the answer. It's because ground control can't understand them when they're like, "Hey, I'm having an issue here."
Oh, I have a voice.
Oh, you have that? Okay.
All right, here you go.
Hey, ground control. We're having some issues with our
thrusters.
Oh, look, it leaked out. All the helium leaked out.
Oh no.
Now you're back to your normal tough astronaut voice. It's easy for us to make jokes when we're sitting here like very calmly on Earth.
Yes, and not having to like hitchhike home on the next rocket passing by.
All right, well, good luck to the federal government. Personally, I feel like good for them. We got to start holding these major corporations accountable again. I feel like we got away from all that. Like the government was just protecting us by making sure we all had jobs. There's important things and important things in life. You know? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the solution is to, too big to fail, whether it's like banks or a lot of these airlines and things like that just keep reaching into the piggy bank. I don't know what the solution is to fix that.
The economy's a big deal, but it's not the only deal, right? You
right.
know, we can't just protect corporations to the ends of the earth when people are literally falling out of the sky.
I just wish it sounded like these potential criminal charges actually seemed like they had any weight behind them or any actual consequence. But
there's a lot of cynicism in the reporting.
Yeah, so I'm not feeling optimistic.
I will say, though, it does seem like this was something driven by public sentiment. Like there wasn't any mass action against Boeing. There were people who weren't buying them because it probably was, outside their risk tolerance to buy 737 MAXs. But people weren't like going out and boycotting flying on 737 MAXs, at least not in a huge capacity.
Right.
I didn't read about anything like that. But there was a lot of public sentiment against it. So here's a case where maybe it led to some change in the federal government.
Well, we can always cross our fingers because any positive movement is to be celebrated. Before we go, I would like to thank our sponsors for today, Michelle Henrici and Ryoku. Thank you both for sponsoring this episode of Morning Somewhere at patreon.com/morningsomewhere.
All right. Well, that does it for us today, June 25th, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope
Hope you'll be here as well.
Bye, everybody.